So who's in the cupboard today? It's Woody!
Silly o'clock in the morning.
At silly o'clock in the morning. You can tell it's early because we're all doing silly things.
Well, we're in.
So we're in. Let's get this show on the road. Yeah, I enjoy it.
Well done. And away by 6.
Yeah, good morning to you, sir. I'm not here to leave the harbour. I'm just north of the bridge, mate. That's all right. Otherwise, you know. Okay, so we've got to where we're going. It's out in an area called Stroudy's Hole, just is an area. We're going to anchor and we're going to fish the bottom, but there's no point in doing that until the tide starts running, because it's still just on the way out. But I'll show you the feature that we're going to anchor to, which is a bit of rough ground there out in Stroudy's Hole, which we'll try and anchor to that. It's a rough area, that rough ground, hoping that it's a fish holding feature. And just whilst we're waiting, we're going to have a little pump around, see if we can't pick up some mackerel. I've got rods set up with a load of little shrimps on, and we're going to pump it down, I don't know, about count of 6 to 8. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, 6, 7, and 8. This is the pace of pumping. Hoping for the best. And I've got mackerel on already. How's about that? You know, last year we couldn't catch a bloody mackerel. This year I'm hearing they're a bit patchy, but we seem to stop in the spot. What I'm hearing is the shoals of mackerel falling down here in preparation for moving on shore. So if that's the case, we might be all right for fresh bait all day. And of course the other thing is, it's kind of sod's law. If we hadn't bought some frozen mackerel, we wouldn't have caught a single fresh mackerel. But because we've got plenty of frozen mackerel with us today, let's hope I can keep frozen.
At exorbitant prices.
Yeah, exorbitant
for a mackerel.
And on the right day, and it wasn't the right day all last year.
It's going to be sketchy for the last few seasons, to be fair.
They have been very sketchy. We're not going to take more than we need. These are for bait. If later in the day, if we want something for eating, we might have another look around and find out the fish. Oh, full on. So, oh, feels like a full string. I think that's enough. Oh, something's come off definitely. There we go. That is enough bait for us. Come back. Nice bait-sized mackerel. Put them in the live bait tank. Again, not particularly because we want them as live baits, but it just keeps them fresh. Make sure it's got plenty of water in it.
Caught something.
Well, the skunk is out of the boat. I don't know if mackerel count. I mean, they never used to count. But so we're just going to have a little drift around, sort of scratching to see what's about whilst we're waiting for the tide to start running. So there's a couple of little tackle tips here. First one, I've got a mould that makes leads like that, which are great because you haven't got to mess around with wires and anything like that. The downside of it is that that eye is too big to fit in as a standard clip swivel. So what I use is I've got a little bit of garden wire, and essentially all I do is I put one end through the lead, and we put a couple of twists in the garden wire to hold the lead in place, and then take the other end of the wire, put it through your link swivel and do the same thing, just twist it on. Now the beauty of this is you can use this like a rotten bottom, so if you're in a place where you're likely to get snagged, don't put so many twists in the wire and it will just pull the wire out. Obviously I don't want to be losing tackle, we're going to be dragging this along the bottom, so I put quite a fair few twists in there. The next thing is I'm going to use a French boom. Now I've seen all sorts of versions of how people mount these, and the way a French boom should be used is you put the line alongside the back of it and you literally put a loop through the eye and you wrap it around 2 or 3 times, and then it sits across this loop, the central loop on the French boom, like that, and that's the French boom mounted. As you can see, it's very quick and easy, very easy to take off again. Alright, I've seen all sorts of people clipping screws on and hanging weights. Well, that's not the way you use a French boom. French boom is used like that, and it means that I can move it up and down the line. Okay, so I can adjust the height of that. Very easy and very quick way of putting a paternoster onto your rig. So if I was fishing this on a ledger and I suddenly thought there were bream about, I could put a French boom above it, put a bit of worm on, and away we go. I'm going to put a hard shell crab on this though, so we can drag it around, see what there's out there that might like to eat hard shell crab. So if I catch something, we'll come back to you. So there's my bait, nice little hardback crab. Let's see if we can catch something. Okay, so we're out, we've got a bait down, so what comes next? A cup of tea. Let's make ourselves a cup of tea. It means we're not too busy. Some days I come out and don't get a cup of tea till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Because we're not drifting reps today, it's a little bit more of a relaxed day. As soon as the tide starts to flow or ebb, no, flood, as soon as the tide starts to flood, we're going to drop the anchor down, get the deck chairs out, and
sit in the sunshine.
Sit in. Yeah.
Well, we could get some.
Yeah, it's pretty blue sky down that way.
Yeah.
It's a bit grey in the direction.
Yeah, we're just fishing in the wrong place. Look at the sun.
But that's where the weather's coming from. The weather is coming from the sunny direction, so
it is.
Get some sunshine.
Yeah, they do give sunshine, to be honest, later on.
And I sent the girlfriend out to get me some packed lunch today.
Suppositories.
Sausages. Oh, I tell you what we haven't done.
Slap on this side.
After years and years of not bothering with these things, I've now made a conscious choice that I will wear a life jacket. But because I've had years of not wearing them, I always forget. Safety at sea.
Indeed. Doesn't do much for your suntan line.
No. Life jacket it up. Safety at sea. You know, you might be a good swimmer, but I ain't going to swim to there. We're 5 miles, 6 miles out. So I'm not swim. Sloppy, choppy sea. Get a couple of mouthfuls of water, start panicking, and it's.
Here we go. Got the first bite of the day.
Bonito, and Willie's got the first outing of the day.
Probably. Well, let's just hope it's bream, which is target species.
Is it fighting?
Oh yeah, there's a little bit of wriggling. There's nothing monstrous, that's for sure.
So the first non-bait fish of the day.
It's going to be a pout whiting.
It's going to be a pout whiting.
Oh no,
oh, no, it's a bream.
Bream.
Bream. Yeah, here we go. First bream of the day.
A little bit small.
A bit small, but it's still nice to see.
Yeah. There we go. Target species.
Yeah.
Captured.
Boys away. I've got the drone up. I've got a fish on. It all happens, isn't it? It all happens. I think I found a new surefire way of getting a bite.
Yeah, put a drone out.
Put a drone out. Gotta get this fishing quick before drone battery runs out. Yeah, and the drone is holding itself in a position and we're drifting away from it, which is, oh, fucking fighting. I think it might be smooth hand actually.
Nice.
Running around, smooth hand. Woo, nice smoothie.
Yeah.
Look at that. Come to daddy, only just hooked. Oh,
Happy days.
happy days.
More than happy days, in fact. Another target species.
Yeah. On a hard shell crab, just to prove that it can be done. So that's about, I don't know, 4 or 5 pounds. Let's put him back. Oh, I need to bring this home.
Come back, come back.
Filming, I think. Hmm? I think that's that I'm filming. Come back to me because it's fucking seeing the boat and doesn't like landing on the boat. Come here. Oh, stressful. Oh, it's stressful.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do
Oh,
all
it's
that
stressful.
All that money, blop, it'd be gone.
Right, we've got a little bit of drift now, so we're going to put the anchor down. So get it all set up, getting the ordinary clicked in, ready to go. Make sure that the breakout is ready to break out should we get foul the anchor, and the triangle is better than the anchor got my lazy boy rope, national twisted, ready to go. Okay, steam up tide and the anchor down.
Then I want to have a cup of tea.
I might then have a cup of tea. Yeah, have a cup of tea. Okay, so we're just steaming up tide of this bit of this feature on the bottom, bit of rough ground, and then we're going to drop the anchor. It's not like a wreck where we want to be fishing in front of it, we want to be fishing on top of it, so. And here's the ordinary ring and the buff. Let's get that over the side. We want to go backwards because we don't want that by the engine. Then we've got our magic triangle, which the way that works is the plate in the rope, it goes through the eye on the triangle, of the triangle and then loops over the triangle like that, and that's the thing that stops the anchor, the buff coming up the rope. We'll be away from this, we don't want to be over the top of our own anchor rope. Yeah, I got it. The problem with doing this at this stage of the tide is there isn't much tide. I mean, it makes it easier in some ways, but it makes it awkward in other ways, because it means we're drifting around, we're not drifting down tide, which is what I would like. Our lazy boy to pull that to the bow, so we're anchored from the bow of the boat. So that's the rope now at the bow. Tie the rope off. There's the anchor tied off, and then we tie the lazy boy off. And then just let the tide start doing its business to pull us down onto the rope. Just like that. And we're swinging around, hopefully. As I say, you need to just keep an eye on that anchor rope, because we are going to drift. The wind's stronger than the tide at the moment. Although, having said that, the wind should be blowing us in the right direction. Yeah, it might still be a little bit of tide running. Yeah, I think what's happening is there's still a bit of tide going that way. Which way is your line going down? Yeah, it's going down that way, isn't it? Because what you will find is that once the tide starts to run, you're going to have to put heavier weights on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Just keep an eye on that rope and tell me what's happening with it. It looks like it's going to get underneath the boat or anything like that. At the moment, literally we're going straight up and down, aren't we? So there isn't, it is slack water virtually.
Just swinging around on the pin now, Skip.
Is it? Yeah. What, swinging round good or bad?
Good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, once it settles and stops swinging around, you can put other rods out. I don't think it's a good idea to put multiple rods out until we're sure that we're sitting. I mean, the lines are heading in that direction, which is what you want to see. But if we swing around, you've got 3 rods out. I mean, I'm going to put an up tide out as well. You just get fucking almighty tangle. What is the tide? What time is the tide today? The tide is now rising. So the low was at 7:17. So yeah, the tide should be flooding there. Sorry? Yeah. So we should have the flood now. I mean, the trouble is the flood's always quite weak here, isn't it? It's because you get a strong ebb.
Yeah.
But it's not it.
Well, it's because it's got to stuff all that water for a smaller gap, isn't it?
Well, that's exactly it. It's a Venturi effect. So because it's squeezing into a narrower gap that way, up the other side of Beachhead, it'll be steaming through. But here it's not. It's funneling in, and conversely, on the way out, it's going like that. Yeah. See, current bunny's coming out. Right, Woody's got a little knock on. Hoping for a bream, nice bream would be nice. Oh, no, something solid, yeah. Unfortunately, where the camera position is, it can't really see. Yeah, big granddaddy pout. Well, at the end of the day, it's fish.
Oh, there you go, look at that.
Oh, a dogfish! That was all the list of nuisance fish. We didn't include le chien. Woo!
Not what was on the wish list.
Let's hope we don't get inundated with them today.
Now the thing with these, the way to take them off is to wrap your tail alongside the body so they don't wrap themselves around you. Try.
They've got tough mouths, haven't they? You want to discard
take that hook out.
Yeah.
They go for another day. No, it's off.
We had something there, I'll put it back down again because sometimes they follow the bait up. Just had a proper bite then.
Taking line.
I think that was a taupe or an eel.
Yeah.
Every chance of a big conger eel. Yeah.
It's taking line.
We could hear this noise and I go, what's that noise? Woody's rod going. Sound like a pig squealing.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So I'm going to fish an uptide. So that's the weight, nice big Sputnik weight. It's on a running slider, and the bait is a reasonable nice size flapped up mackerel. So we hang that off the wires of the weight. So I'm hoping it doesn't all tangle up. The cast, and we're going to cast sort of cross and up tide. Let the grip weight hook on the bottom. You know it's achieved that when the line's going out and it's not in line with all the other lines, it's sticking out to the side slightly. Pretty slack tide at the moment. So not lobbing it far, it's just literally just taking it off to one side. So we're separating our baits out because I'm going to put a third rod out in a minute. Drag set. Slipping in underneath my thumb. So, casting in the boat. I saw the fish come off the wires as it hit the water, which is good. Literally only 20 metres out to one side, if that. And then once the lead hits the bottom, we allow the line to keep on paying out, so it ends up with a bow of line coming up to the weight. And the classic bite with this, if you get a decent fish on it, is that you'll suddenly see you'll get a bounce back. You'll get a slack line as it pulls the lead out. So as I say, there's not much tide running at the moment. Strip bait, gone completely. Yeah, I think you had a taupe there, mate.
Yeah. Possibly.
That's the problem with fishing with more than one rod. You've got to remember you've got more than one rod. Okay, so that's set up and ready to go. Put that in the rests.
Well, that's all right. If there's one, there may be more, mate.
Yeah.
Well, look at it.
There are packs of them, aren't
there?
Yeah. Let's just kill this camera. Had a bit of activity on the uptide rod. So it's a reasonably sized dogfish actually, but not what we want, the fish that we want. So he's going back into the briny. What we got? We've got a buff on the ankle walk, which has got a metal ring on it, called an Alderney ring. So what we do is we steam uptide of that, and the ankle walk runs through it and lifts the anchor, so it then comes up and floats underneath the buff. Once it's sitting under the buff, which it will do because the chain counterbalances the anchor, you just put it in dead easy. No hard work involved, but it has potential dangers associated with it, so you have to concentrate a little bit. So bear with me. So you've got a lazy boy here, which is just a clip that runs around some pulleys down the side of the boat, which basically just pulls the anchor walk to the front of the boat, so you're anchored at the right part of the boat. And then it's just an easy task pulling all this slack rope in. No, there's no grunt involved in it. The thing's just floating underneath the buff over there somewhere. Just a couple of things to note with that is you make sure that you are still attached to the front of the boat until you're happy that the anchor is sitting underneath the buff. Because what you don't want is the anchor to drop back to the bottom when you're attached to the side of the boat, because you end up sideways onto the tide, and if it's a strong tide that could sink your boat. And of course when you're steaming up tide you want to make sure that you don't steam over the top of the anchor walk, because that then wraps around your prop. And that would be a little bit emotional because you'd end up stern into the sea, which again would sink your boat on a rough day. So that's when you have to get uncut your anchor really quickly, which has happened to me once. It's kind of one of those things you don't repeat because it's emotional and it's expensive.
But life-saving nevertheless.
Well, it's life-saving nevertheless. I was talking to someone the other day who might be on here. This is this wonderful triangle thing. So in the past I used to use a peg of wood, which by now would be really tight on here and be a real pain to get off, but that's just a case of feed that through and it's off. And his anchor had been picked up by a trawler and he was getting towed along by the trawler. And I said, why didn't you just cut your anchor walk? And he said, because well, we didn't want to lose the anchor. And I'm thinking, well, you don't want to lose your life, that's for sure. I could have just pulled you under. And you'd go down really quick.
I think your anchor was in Ramsgate.
Well, he was shouting on the radio. In the end, he had to shoot flare. He called up the Coast Guard trying to get them to raise the trawler. The trawler was so intent on what it was doing, didn't realise it was towing a boat along behind it. I think he shot flares off in the end, and the flares attracted the attention of the trawler. I think I'd have cut my ankle off. And then I would have written a very stern letter.
What's the French?
To the trawler. Or I would have steamed up alongside the trawler and go, aye! Because it might have still had his anchor wrapped up in the trawl, so he could have got it back. And there's the chain. There's plenty of chain, and it needs to be heavier than the anchor. So it's a 7.5 kilo anchor, which is probably more than necessary, but I would rather have a little bit too much anchor and not drag it than have a little bit too less and end up dragging my anchor. Woo!
Right, let's do it all again.
Right, so we've got to go and drag the anchor now, and after a very long period of nothing happening, put a lure rod out with a few feathers on it and a lure, left it drifting in the tide, and we have some activity. I suspect mackerel. It's a welcome sight because it has been a bit scarce for quite a while.
Yeah, see him.
I can see them. Getting away from all the lines.
What's the most? Never going to be told.
Oh, we've got a tangle of mackerel. A tangle of mackerel. There we go.
How have they got tangled up like that? They should be better of themselves, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Fresh mackerel. Got barbecue tonight. Take some mackerel home from Barbie. If I ever get them untangled. Really. Oh, hang on. Teach me to pay attention. They were probably been on there a while, which is why they sounded. Lassos and hooks and all sorts of things.
Good luck untangling it.
Go. Fresh mackerel. A set of mackerel feathers. Gives me something to do for the next hour. Got it undone. That's called perseverance and patience. Well, best laid plans of mice and men, etc. We started out really promising session. Just died. So we're going to start heading back in. There is a wreck that we can have a look at on the way back in, see if there's anything on it, see if there's anyone fishing it. Might have a few drifts on that, and then call it a day. Been a cracking day though. What a fantastic weather. The wind is now starting to pick up a little bit. You might be picking it up on the mics, but yeah. So if we start catching fish, I'll start filming. Here, first cast with a reasonable lure, and I meet with a fish. Don't know what it is. I'm hoping it's a bass. It is a bass.
Lovely.
Lovely, nice size.
Yeah, just about table size, isn't it?
Yeah. We'll get under the sides. So there we go. Nice little bass. Just trying to get the hook out of your mouth. Would you like to come to a barbecue? Oh, that nearly got off. Nearly got away.
That was good to see.
It was good to see, wasn't it? Well, that's it. I had one little bass off this wreck, which is nice. But we're going to start heading in now and get in. So thanks very much for joining us on what was actually a very enjoyable day, albeit we didn't catch a lot of fish. And see you on the next one.
jar? Did I take it too far? Now I dwell in the sand like a fish on land. Like a fish on land. Must be hell, no more cookies in this jar. Did I take it too far? Now I dwell in the sand like a fish on land. 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 I was getting lost in the quicksand. Eating their way into my head, on and on until I bled. Superstitious, kind of vicious. Oh, knock, knock on wood. I was getting lost. And before I understood, I was deep, deep down on the bottom of a well. Seagrass was all I found. I know alternative hell, no more cookies in this jar. Did I take it too far? Now I dwell in the sand like a fish on land. But I'm deep, deep down on the bottom of a well. I don't belong, can't you tell? This place must be hell. No more cookies in this jar. Did I take it too far? Now I dwell in